Hello booktube. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Marilyn and I'm here today with an original tag by a new booktuber to me. And I wasn't tagged, but I saw this tag on Kelly's channel of books I'm not reading and she wasn't tagged. So I thought it was a good opportunity for people who aren't tagged in a tag to feel more comfortable about doing a tag and more excited about it. Like I said, it's an original tag. It's called the Reading Ticks tag. What kind of reading ticks do you have? Sort of what's your preference is in reading. And I found Kevin Towle's channel by Pat from another tag, from Book Chat with Pat, a good friend of mine. So let's get on to the tag. Number one, do you only read at a specific time of day? I do, and I'm mostly a night reader. In fact, there's another booktuber called Priscilla who I'm going to tag at the end of this. I don't know if she does many tags anymore, but she's evening reader, and I always told her, you stole my name, because I mostly read at night. And the reason for that is that there's a lack of concentration during the day for me due to the fact that I live in a small house with quite a lot of people, and nighttime is the best time for me to really sit down and concentrate. Of course I can, and I'll get into that, where do you read, but I can go outside and read, but somehow that never works out for me, and I'll get back to that in another question. So I read at night. Number two, do you prefer to work? This is funny. I don't know. Do you prefer to read in your work/everyday clothes, or are you partial to reading in PJs or comfy clothes? I don't have many clothes at all. That sounds terrible. What I mean to say is that I'm always in comfy clothes. The only time I at all wear clothes that aren't comfy is when the rare times that I go out of my house, and when I do booktube I have to put on something, right? I really wouldn't do a video with PJs on, but yeah, I'm always comfortable. When you get to a certain age, you want to be comfortable. So that's the answer to that one. And number three is what I was coming back to. What is your favorite reading spot? Couch, chair, bed, outdoors, somewhere else? And I said, of course, my bed, but I have some interesting experiences. I live in Hawaii, and I try to read outside at the beach, and that's not a good idea. I've had to pay a lot of fines because of books being destroyed by, not intentional, but because of the elements of ocean salt. It's not good for pages, and accidents that happen when you're reading at the beach. So yeah, I decided that I'm not going to read outside. Today, in fact, it's a very rainy day in Hawaii, very rare. We haven't had much rain. So definitely I'm not going to go outside on my porch and read today. But I don't do that. I feel that reading for me is a private thing, and I don't want to be reading in front of a lot of people. I used to read on the bus when I took the bus, and that comes with other problems like motion sickness and all that. But yeah, you can really get into this question. Number four, do you snack while reading, or is this a no-go? It's a no-go. Lately, I don't snack at all. I just eat 2 meals, and if I snack, it'll be a pretzel. I don't eat ice cream and desserts and snacks like that anymore, only because, and that sounds so boring, isn't it? I do eat desserts when I go on vacation, but I have so many health problems right now that I have to really, really be careful with my diet. So eating and reading. You know, it's funny because this is like TMI. My first husband, part of the reason why he's my first husband, we got married very young, we were teenagers, and at one point he says to me, all you care about is reading and eating. And I was very hurt at the time. And then I thought, hey, now as I get older, aren't those like the two best things to do? So at one point I did read while I was eating, but I don't do that anymore because I want to make eating special as I want to make reading special. Anyway, did you really want to hear that? Okay. Number 5. Do you or have you ever peeked at the end of a book, or do you avoid spoilers at all costs? I have to say 99% I avoid spoilers at all costs, and it gets me really angry when there's a spoiler right in the middle of the book on a blurb, before you even get on an acknowledgement, maybe not an acknowledgement, but maybe an introduction, and you don't want to read the introduction because you learn the hard way that you're going to get spoiled by reading the introduction, but it just pops out at you. And I was very lucky because I just read a wonderful book, and I wasn't spoiled for the book. And I think that if I had been spoiled for this particular book called The Safe Keep, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did, and I will talk about it later this week because it's a 5-star read. So I avoid, now I'm almost paranoid about avoiding spoilers because, I hate them so much. However, if I hate a book, but it's a thriller or something, then I'll peek at the end and see what I missed, and usually I'm right and I didn't miss much. So that's the 1% of the time. Number 6, do you prefer first person or third person narrative, or do you care? At first I thought, well, there's other narratives too. If the first person is very interesting, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but if the first person narrative is very interesting and they do it right, that's my preference. However, there's also the third person can be interesting, but there's 3 kinds of third person. And there's the third person common, I think it's called, the third person limited, and the third person omniscient. And they all have pros and cons to them. I found out that Tree Grows in Brooklyn is written in the third person omniscient. And of course, this is a very wonderful book. And just plug, I plan to do a read-along in April of this book. So if you're interested, just drop me a note in the comments. But so what that means is, and I looked it up, that the omniscient narrator knows everything and everybody in the story. And so you get to experience everything from everyone's point of view. The narrator who knows it all. The limited, and they gave when I looked it up, it gave the example of 1984, where you have a limited view of the narrator. So you know a little bit of what they're thinking. And I guess the common one, objective, third person objective, is what is most common, at least since the 19th century, I read. Number 7, do you read dedications, author's notes, acknowledgments, or do you skip these? If I really love a book, I'm reading everything. I'm reading the notes, I'm reading the acknowledgments, the author's notes, everything, anything that's in the back, any kind of text, I'm reading everything. Because I want to know more about the book, how the author came to write a book like this, if I really love it, and maybe they'll recommend another book for me. Okay, so number 8, do you have a favorite reading beverage? Like I said about reading outside, I'm clumsy, so I'm very careful about reading beverages. I'll have a sip of water, but I must say that my favorite beverage of all time, and I want to get this in, I'm a tea drinker. So if I was very careful and it's at the table, very rarely Like when I was reading a very heavy book and it had to stay on the table, I would very carefully drink my daily cup of tea. I don't drink coffee, and I don't drink any other beverage really but water and tea. So sometimes if it's in the morning, rarely that I'm reading, and I'm having my cup of tea, I'll set it really to the side and sip it. But yeah, so tea is my favorite beverage, but not really a reading beverage. I'll say water. Number 8, how do you decide what to read next? This is kind of tricky. TBR, mood, goals, random choice. You know, as a booktuber, we are bombarded almost with bombarded in a good way, with wonderful suggestions and recommendations from other booktubers. So maybe that's my way of finding out about books lately. So that would be, I can't say it's random choice. That would be, it's not even here, actually. It's a suggestion. Goals, not really. I don't have that many goals for my channel except to show you what I'm reading. I do have a TBR and or a pile of possibilities but how do you get those? How do you decide what how a TBR really can't make you decide what to read next. You put the TBR together, and then then that's what makes you decide. So you're the one putting together that TBR. So yeah, of course, my TBR that I put together because of the suggestions of other people, my mood at the time, maybe lists, like I had another video with the list of all lists, and thank you so much for watching that video. Random choice is not really good for me at the moment, because the only random choice I would have is my mood looking on my shelves. I used to love to browse at bookstores and the library, and that I call random choice, but I don't get to do that anymore, and I want to do that more. But in Hawaii, we're very limited on the amount of bookstores we have in general. So I usually, when I travel, I go to bookstores, and that's when I browse. And is it mood or is it random? I don't know. If it looks good to me, it sounds good to me, or maybe I heard it on BookTube or elsewhere, then yeah. And also mood. And on my last video, I talked about how being in a depressed mood or an anxious mood can affect how reading affects your mind, how reading hits you, how a book hits you. And so yeah, mood is very important. But I think, again, mood is not going to tell me what, it'll tell me basically, okay, you need to read something light, mysterious, police procedural, because that's going to make you get out of a bad mood. Or you need to read something deep because you want to read some beautiful writing, or you need to read something for an event. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So there's events coming up. I used to be a host for March Mystery Madness, but I couldn't do that this year because of many reasons. And what I was telling you about, I've been going through some stuff. But I do want to encourage everyone to participate in March Mystery Madness because it's so much fun. And I'm going to, if not, like I said, I'm not hosting this year, but I'm going to rally everyone who is a host and read everyone's video, watch everyone's video on March Mystery Madness. And I also have my own, not my own, but Kim from Middle of the Book March, and we do Mental Health May, and that's one event that is very special to my heart. So there's events that also help you decide what to read next, like Jane Austen July, and there's so many. I can go on and on. Now I'm going to tag some others, which is number 10 on the tag. And like I said, Priscilla she hasn't been doing frequent videos, but if you're listening, Priscilla, at Evening Reader, I tag you. And Maria Andrea from Books and Bocadillos, wonderful Latina booktuber. Freddie, my good friend Freddie at Sluggish Reader, please check him out. He does the most wonderful book reviews, and I think he deserves a lot more subscribers. Jolene at Bookworm Adventure Girl, a Canadian booktuber who I watch a lot. Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads. He's always tagged in a lot of videos, but maybe he hasn't been tagged yet. Emily at Novell Novels. Jack, another British booktuber at Spread Book Joy, my good friend Jack. Mitzi at Mitzi Reads and Writes. Check out her channel. We did some readathons, not readathons, book read-alongs together, and she's really a great person. My good friend Katja at Turning Pages with Katja, and Elizabeth at Bookons and Books. So I hope, even if you're not tagged, you will consider doing this tag, because I think it's a really fast, fun tag to do. And until we meet again in our next video, I'll just say aloha for now.